Bomber aircraft play a strategic role in a nation's military power. World War II, which took place from 1939 to 1945, showcased the effectiveness of Allied bombers, primarily powered by the United States, U.S., in dismantling Nazi Germany's military strength in Europe and concluding the war in the Pacific when U.S. B-29 bomber aircraft dropped atomic bombs on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. One of the most renowned bombers today is the B-52 Stratofortress, owned by the U.S. Air Force. The B-52 is the first long-range heavy bomber owned by the U.S. military and an intercontinental bomber capable of carrying and deploying strategic nuclear bombs from high altitudes. With several variants, the 8-engine Boeing-manufactured bomber has been operational for over 60 years and is projected to remain in service until 2040, even though the U.S. now possesses newer generation bombers like the Rockwell B-1 Lancer and the Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit. The extensive operational lifespan of the B-52 Stratofortress has solidified its status as a legend in military aviation history. The history of the B-52 dates back to 1946 when the XB-52 design was selected by the U.S. Air Force, which was then a part of the Army Air Forces. In subsequent developments, design revisions took place in October 1948 when, under the instructions of senior U.S. Air Force officials, Boeing replaced the propeller engines with 8 new jet engines. This overhaul impressed the U.S. Air Force, which promptly approved the final design. The first production B-52A took its maiden flight in 1954. Throughout its history from 1952 to 1962, Boeing produced around 744 B-52 bombers in 8 variants, with 76 of them being the B-52H variant, which remains active in the U.S. Air Force today. The B-52's extended operational lifespan also proves its adaptability to evolving U.S. air defense needs. The B-52 bomber was a backbone of the Strategic Air Command, SAC, before the Air Defense Command was disbanded in 1992. According to Britannica, SAC was a U.S. military strategic command responsible for the country's aerial bombing force and a major component of nuclear defense against a Soviet nuclear attack on the U.S. Formed in 1946, SAC was officially dissolved in 1992 after the collapse of the Soviet Union. SAC controlled a significant portion of U.S. nuclear weapons, including bomber aircraft capable of delivering them. As the U.S.'s first long-range strategic bomber, the B-52 stood as a cornerstone of this command. Its fleet was on constant standby across various bases, ready to take off within minutes for retaliatory nuclear strikes if the Soviet Union launched a nuclear attack against the U.S. and its allies. One of the prerequisites of a strategic bomber is the ability to conduct long-distance flights efficiently. Boeing reports that throughout the 1950s, the B-52 broke numerous distance and speed records. Then, in January 1962, during one of its missions, a B-52 flew non-stop from Japan to Spain, covering a distance of 12,500 miles or approximately 20,117 kilometers. This flight shattered 11 distance and speed records at the time. Noted for its large size, the B-52 is known for its capacity to carry a substantial amount of bombs. The current active variant in the U.S. Air Force, the B-52H, can carry over 31 tons of bombs, as reported by Air Force Technology. The B-52H can deploy a variety of weapons, including cruise missiles, air-to-surface missiles, and conventional and strategic nuclear bombs. Additionally, the B-52 is the only active bomber with 8 engines in the U.S. military's fleet. The B-52 has been tested in various large-scale wars since its operational debut in 1955. Nearly every conflict involving the U.S. has seen the B-52 engaged in aerial bombing missions. Some of the wars it has participated in include the Vietnam War, 1972, the Gulf War, 1991, the War in Afghanistan, 2001, and the Iraq War, 2003. In the book titled Pesawat Pembom sa Panjang Masa, Bomber Aircraft Throughout the Ages, the B-52's significant role is highlighted in the Vietnam War of 1972 when the U.S. Air Force executed bombing operations against North Vietnamese defenses. In the operation known as Linebacker 2, dozens of B-52s were deployed in large waves, dropping over 15,000 tons of bombs over 11 days. During Linebacker 2, around 15 B-52 aircraft were downed by North Vietnamese surface-to-air missiles, SAMs, SA-2 guideline. North Vietnam launched more than 1,200 surface-to-air missiles to counter the waves of bombing conducted by the B-52 aircraft. Currently, global superpowers continue to compete in developing increasingly advanced weapon systems and defense technologies, but regardless of the reasons, we all hope that wars will never occur again, both in the present and the future.